Some people seem quiet at first but become incredibly talkative once they feel comfortable. This is not random behavior. It is rooted in how the brain processes trust and safety. If you have ever met someone who barely spoke a word during your first encounter but later turned into the most expressive person in the room, you have witnessed this phenomenon firsthand. It is one of the most fascinating patterns in human psychology. And the truth is, millions of people around the world live with this exact trait every single day. They are not being fake. They are not pretending to be shy. Their brains are literally wired to be cautious around unfamiliar faces. Once that wall of caution comes down, something beautiful happens. They open up. They laugh. They joke. They become some of the warmest and most engaging people you will ever meet. But getting to that point takes time and patience. It takes trust. And trust for these individuals is not something they hand out freely. It is earned slowly and carefully. This is not a flaw. It is actually a deeply intelligent survival mechanism. The brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do. It is protecting the person from potential threats. And once the brain decides that someone is safe, the entire dynamic shifts. The quiet, reserved exterior melts away. What remains is a person who is genuinely enthusiastic about connecting. They want to share their thoughts. They want to hear yours. They want to laugh with you and talk about things that matter. But only when they feel safe enough to do so. This pattern has been studied extensively in the field of psychology. Researchers have spent decades trying to understand why some people are naturally more reserved in new social situations. The answers they have found are both surprising and deeply reassuring. It turns out that being shy at first is not a weakness. It is actually a sign of heightened awareness. People who are cautious around strangers tend to be more observant. They pick up on social cues that others miss entirely. They notice body language. They pay attention to tone of voice. They are constantly scanning their environment for signs of safety or danger. This is not something they do consciously. It happens automatically at a neurological level. The brain is running a background process that evaluates every new person and every new situation. And until that process returns a result of safe, the person remains guarded. This is why first impressions can be so misleading with these individuals. You might meet someone at a party and think they are cold or uninterested. But the reality is they are simply processing. Their brain is working overtime to figure out whether you are someone they can trust. And if you give them enough time and enough positive interactions, they will eventually let you in. When they do, you will see a completely different side of them. A side that is warm and funny and deeply caring. A side that most people never get to see because they give up too quickly. They assume the quiet person is not interested in connecting. But nothing could be further from the truth. These individuals crave connection just as much as anyone else. They simply go about it in a different way. They prefer depth over breadth. They would rather have 3 close friends than 30 acquaintances. They value quality over quantity in every relationship they build. And this is not just a personality preference. It is backed by science. Research has shown that people who are selective about their social connections tend to have stronger and more fulfilling relationships. They invest more time and energy into the people they care about. They are more loyal. They are more attentive. They remember small details about the people in their lives. They show up when it matters. And they expect the same level of commitment in return. This is why their friendships tend to last longer than average. When someone earns their trust, they hold on to that relationship tightly. They do not take it for granted. They nurture it. They protect it. And they are often devastated when a trusted relationship falls apart. Because for them, letting someone in is not a casual decision. It is a significant emotional investment. Now let us talk about the science behind this in more detail. One of the most important findings comes from brain imaging research. Scientists used functional magnetic resonance imaging to study the brains of adults who were identified as shy during childhood. What they found was remarkable. When these individuals were shown photographs of unfamiliar faces, their amygdala showed heightened activity. The amygdala is the part of the brain that processes fear and emotional responses. It acts as an alarm system. When it detects something unfamiliar or potentially threatening, it sends a signal to the rest of the brain to be on alert. This is exactly what happens when a naturally cautious person meets someone new. Their alarm system activates. Not because the new person is actually dangerous, but because the brain has not yet determined whether they are safe. This heightened amygdala response is completely normal. It is simply more pronounced in some people than in others. And here is the fascinating part. When the same individuals were shown photographs of familiar trusted faces, their amygdala activity dropped significantly. The alarm system turned off. The brain recognized a safe person and the entire emotional landscape shifted. This is the neurological basis for why some people seem like entirely different people once they are comfortable with you. It is not an act. It is not a performance. It is a genuine shift in brain chemistry. The stress hormones decrease. The feel-good chemicals increase. And the person is finally free to express themselves without the constant background noise of caution and vigilance. This is why patience is so important when building a relationship with someone who is naturally reserved. You cannot rush the process. You cannot force someone to trust you before their brain is ready. Pushing too hard will actually have the opposite effect. It will make the person more guarded, more withdrawn, more convinced that you are not a safe person to be around. The best approach is to be consistent. Be kind. Be patient. Show up regularly and be the same person every time. Over time, the cautious person will notice your consistency. Their brain will start to recategorize you from unknown to known, from potentially threatening to probably safe, and eventually from probably safe to definitely safe. That is when the magic happens. That is when you get to meet the real person behind the quiet exterior. And it is worth the wait. Now let us explore the second major characteristic of people who are shy at first but talkative once comfortable. Once they feel safe with someone, their emotional expression becomes remarkably rich. The walls come down, and what was previously a reserved demeanor transforms into something vibrant and animated. They laugh more freely. They make jokes. They share stories and opinions they would never voice in a group of strangers. This transformation can be so dramatic that people around them are genuinely surprised. Friends who have known them for years might describe them as one of the funniest people they know. Meanwhile, someone who only met them once at a social gathering might describe them as quiet and serious. Both descriptions are accurate. They are just describing two different modes of the same person. And both modes are completely authentic. The quiet version is not a mask. The talkative version is not a performance. They are both genuine expressions of the same individual operating under different levels of emotional safety. Think about it this way. Imagine you are walking through an unfamiliar neighborhood at night. You would naturally be more alert, more cautious, more aware of your surroundings. You would not be cracking jokes or singing loudly. You would be focused on getting through safely. Now imagine you are walking through your own neighborhood in broad daylight. You feel completely safe. You might wave to your neighbors. You might stop to chat. You might even dance a little if your favorite song comes on. Same person. Different environment. Different behavior. That is essentially what happens with people who are shy at first but open up later. The unfamiliar social situation is like the dark, unfamiliar neighborhood. The comfortable, trusted relationship is like their own street in daylight. Their behavior changes because their environment has changed. And that change in behavior is completely natural and healthy. It does not mean they are being inconsistent or fake. It means they are human. And their brain is doing exactly what it is supposed to do, adapting their behavior to match their level of safety. This adaptability is actually a tremendous strength. It means these individuals are highly attuned to their environment. They can read a room quickly and adjust accordingly. They know when to be quiet and when to speak up. They know when to hold back and when to let loose. This social intelligence is often underappreciated because it does not present itself in the loud, obvious way that extroversion does. But it is there. And it is powerful. People who are cautious at first often become some of the best communicators once they are comfortable. Because they have spent so much time observing and listening, they develop an exceptional understanding of how communication works. They know how to choose their words carefully. They know how to time a joke perfectly. They know how to make someone feel heard and valued. These are skills that many naturally outgoing people never develop because they never needed to. They were comfortable talking from the start. They never had to sit back and observe before jumping in. But the person who is shy at first has been observing their entire life. They have been studying people, learning what makes them tick, understanding what makes them laugh and what makes them uncomfortable. And when they finally feel safe enough to use all that accumulated knowledge, they become extraordinary conversationalists. The kind of people you could talk to for hours and never get bored. The kind of people who remember what you said 3 months ago and bring it up at exactly the right moment. The kind of people who make you feel like you are the most important person in the room. This is not manipulation. This is genuine attentiveness. They care deeply about the people they let into their inner circle. And they show that care through the quality of their attention and conversation. Now let us discuss the third key characteristic. People who are shy at first but talkative once comfortable tend to prefer deep, meaningful relationships over shallow, casual ones. This preference is not a social limitation. It is a deliberate choice driven by their psychological makeup. They find small talk draining and unfulfilling. They would rather skip the surface-level pleasantries and get straight to the real stuff. What do you actually think about life? What keeps you up at night? What are you passionate about? What are you afraid of? These are the kinds of conversations that energize them. The kinds of conversations that make them feel truly connected to another person. And this preference for depth over breadth extends to how they structure their social lives. They typically maintain a small circle of close friends rather than a large network of acquaintances. They invest heavily in these few relationships, pouring time, energy, and emotional resources into the people who matter most to them. This approach to socializing has significant psychological benefits. Research consistently shows that the quality of our relationships matters far more than the quantity. People who have a few deep, close friendships tend to report higher levels of happiness and life satisfaction than those who have many superficial connections. They also tend to experience lower levels of loneliness. This might seem counterintuitive. You would think that having more friends would make you feel less lonely. But loneliness is not about the number of people around you. It is about the depth of connection you feel with them. You can be surrounded by 100 people and still feel completely alone if none of those connections go below the surface. Conversely, you can have just 2 or 3 people in your life who truly understand you and feel deeply fulfilled. People who are shy at first understand this intuitively. They are not interested in collecting friends like trophies. They are interested in building genuine, authentic bonds that stand the test of time. And because they are selective about who they let in, those bonds tend to be incredibly strong. The friends they choose feel valued and appreciated. There is a sense of mutual respect and understanding that is difficult to replicate in more casual relationships. This selectivity also means that when these individuals do open up to you, it is a genuine compliment. It means they have evaluated you. They have observed you. They have decided that you are trustworthy and worth investing in. That is not something to take lightly. It is a gift. And if you are fortunate enough to be on the receiving end of that trust, you have an opportunity to build one of the most rewarding relationships of your life. Because the person who was once quiet and reserved around you is now showing you who they really are. And who they really are is someone extraordinary. Someone thoughtful and loyal and deeply caring. Someone who will remember your birthday and check on you when you are having a bad day. Someone who will celebrate your wins as if they were their own. Someone who will stick by your side when things get tough because they do not abandon people they care about. That is the nature of the bond you build with someone who is shy at first but open once comfortable. It is not instant. It is not flashy. It does not happen overnight at a party. It builds slowly over weeks and months of consistent positive interactions. But once it is built, it is incredibly strong. Stronger than most people realize. And it is worth every moment of patience it took to get there. In the field of psychology, people who display this pattern are often described as having an introverted personality with a social switch. This means they have the capacity for rich social engagement, but they activate that capacity selectively. They are not constantly seeking social stimulation the way highly extroverted individuals might. Instead, they save their social energy for the people and situations that matter most to them. This is an efficient and healthy way to manage social resources. Everyone has a limited amount of social energy. Extroverted people tend to spend theirs broadly across many interactions. Introverted people with a social switch tend to concentrate theirs into fewer but deeper interactions. Neither approach is better or worse. They are simply different strategies for navigating the social world. The key difference is that people with a social switch can sometimes be misunderstood. Because they present differently in different contexts, people may think they are unpredictable or inconsistent. But as we have discussed, their behavior is actually very consistent. It follows a clear pattern. Quiet and reserved with unfamiliar people. Warm and expressive with trusted people. Once you understand this pattern, everything makes sense. Their behavior becomes completely predictable and understandable. And this understanding can transform your relationships with them. Instead of feeling confused or frustrated by their initial reserve, you can simply give them the time and space they need to warm up. You can be patient and consistent. You can show them through your actions that you are a safe person to be around. And when they finally open up to you, you will know that you have earned something truly special. Their trust. Their authenticity. Their full unguarded self. That is one of the most beautiful gifts one person can give another. And it is only possible because they are careful about who they give it to. So if you recognize yourself in this description, know that there is nothing wrong with you. Your brain is functioning exactly as it should. Your caution around new people is not a defect. It is a feature. It protects you from investing in relationships that might not be safe or worthwhile. And it ensures that when you do invest, it is in people who deserve your time and energy. Your close friends are lucky to know the real you. The you that laughs loudly and tells great stories and cares deeply about the people around you. Not everyone gets to see that side of you. And that makes it all the more special for those who do. If you recognize someone else in this description, be patient with them. Do not take their initial quietness as rejection or disinterest. Give them time. Be consistent. Be genuine. And eventually they will let you in. When they do, you will discover one of the most loyal and caring people you have ever met. The wait is absolutely worth it. Every time.